start us off by telling us a little bit about why you're running, what qualifies you to take on a role on the city council, and what your highest priority would be if you're elected?
Yes, thank you for asking. My name is D'Angelo Davis. I'm a native of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm a graduate from Howard High. I attended Southern New Hampshire University, graduated with a PhD. And over the course of my time, I've been just serving the people. And what drew me to running is, before I got into the race, no one was speaking the issues of the people. Everybody was no one speaking of public. When I'm speaking of affordable housing, true affordable housing, when I'm speaking of early childhood development, they wasn't speaking of public safety before I joined. So that's why I joined the race. But now everyone's speaking about it. I guess I did their research, and I'm glad to know everyone's on the board. So yes, that's why I joined for the people. So I'm running for the people.
Thank you. So starting off with some questions about the budget. The city is estimated to lose $8 million in revenue, mostly due to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic and the effects of that in the 2021 fiscal year. As a member of the council, how would you work on a challenging budget in the 2022 fiscal year, or even after that, also under the stress caused by COVID?
Yes, thank you for answering that question. As mayor, I will bring voices to the table to make sure that the funds get allocated to where they're needed, and I will de-escalate funds from organizations and firms that's been getting tax cuts and tax breaks for the past years from now. So yes, I will. It will be funds available for them.
So also related to the coronavirus, as we near 1 year since the virus was first detected in Chattanooga, businesses and individuals here have struggled due to COVID-19 and the economic effects and the societal effects. So how would you provide aid, if you're elected mayor, to the businesses and families hit hardest by the pandemic's economic impact? Are there programs in place in the city that you'd want to keep? And what other programs would you like to add?
Yes, thank you. There's a lot of programs and organizations that I would love to keep, FUZZ and CNE, and organizations that's really out here doing the work that's needed for the people, especially for redline and low income district families who's really suffering, as well as small business. For small business, as well as the districts that I will also fight for with the city councilmen, which be the redline and low income districts, I will make sure that funds are allocated to them specific organizations to do the work that they're doing, as well as we will cut these tax breaks and these kickbacks that these high corporations companies are getting. It's time for them to kick in. It's time to increase their taxes and give that money to the small income, and as well as Black-owned and women-owned businesses. It's time to kick in.
So moving on to a new topic, paving and transportation consistently rank at the top of citizens' concerns according to annual studies by the city. So what transportation or infrastructure goals would you have if you are elected mayor?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. The city has to come together with other cities and states, sister cities and states, to see how they're doing their transportation and really jump on board. Because for us in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we're building, we're branding, we're expanding more, and there's a lot of tourists here, so the crowd is just congested. But as mayor, I will make sure that we have Carter, number one, make sure the fund is there for Carter to expand their bridge and bring them to the table, as well as other organizations, transportation organizations, to help get people on one side of a town without having to wait 30 minutes on the bus, because the bus is getting ridiculous. And then we have railroad systems. I want to look into how can we open up this railroad system that our tourists is wine and dining on, and see can we get them up and booted, and see how can we get the tourists not only on them to continue to ride, but as well as the citizens and to alleviate the transportation.
Thank you. So moving on to some questions about business and the economy. City labor unions and some activists support a $15 minimum wage for city workers, and that's something that Mayor Andy Burke was intending to begin implementing before COVID-19. Do you support this or any other specific pay increases for city employees, and why or why not?
Oh yes, thank you for asking that question. Of course, I support it. It should have been done. We should have been had a minimum wage of $15 an hour, especially for city workers, um, as well as stopping these contractors from coming in, taking up jobs that our city workers can be doing at the probably at a lower rate that they're charging. So yes, I will fight for the fight for 15. I will make sure that the city councilmen are on board with me, and I will make sure that the people who on the front line doing the work make sure they benefit well from their heroic service that they've been giving out over this pandemic.
Thank you. In 2019, 40% of Chattanooga's households were considered housing cost burdened, meaning they pay more than 30% of their income on rent or housing, and therefore may struggle to afford other necessities. How would you address affordable housing as mayor?
Our housing plan takes the first steps to creating first of a kind down payment rental home assistance program. The people eligible for the system must be first-time homeowners that lives in formerly red line neighborhoods or communities that were segregated by law, and still continually currently are low income. If they qualify, they are entitled to substantial grants that can put them towards their down payment on their home in that was once gentrified or segregated area of Chattanooga. Our housing plan will help by investing $30 million over the next 4 years to build, preserve, and rehab affordable housing, creating a multitude of new housing units and bringing down rental costs by 10%. It will also help families, especially families of color, buy homes and start to build wealth. Substantially improving housing affordability isn't just it isn't just good for the economy. It's also good for homeless and reduces homeless and crime.
Thank you. Also related to that, a number of Chattanoogans are experiencing homelessness. How would you further the city's progress towards reducing homelessness if you're elected?
Yes. Again, for my previous question, I'll stay with my previous answer. I'm sorry. Not only will we reduce the 10% of the cost of living, rental living here in Chattanooga for affordable housing, but we should have a 24-hour homeless shelter for the homeless. There's no way no one should be homeless in the gig city. I mean, we're one of the brightest city in the world. I mean, it's no way we should not have a 24-hour homeless shelter. So I will fight to make sure we have a 24-hour homeless shelter, number one. Number two, as well as homeless LGBTQ youth is under the Walnut Street Bridge. I'll make sure that they have a place in to make sure they're secured as well. And built a multitude of affordable housing. I mean, the city owns so many properties that's just sitting and getting abandoned and just waiting for someone to come and fix up. So we will partner with other organizations and other companies to bring them in to help rejuvenate them in, so they'll be suitable for families to move in.
Thank you. So downtown Chattanooga, which was once a showcase, is struggling to hold onto businesses. There's a lot of like empty storefronts there. How do you think that can be improved, and what factors do you think have made downtown less appealing to businesses? And also, if you could mention whether you support the Business Improvement District.
Downtown has really it has really improved so much. I mean, it's so much going on downtown. Like you said, we do have buildings that's abandoned. I mean, that's not occupied at the moment, so we can open them up to small businesses and bring other organizations in who can needs to have a beacon of hope, needs to have them somewhere to have a home. You can bring the other organization in that doesn't have a necessary office and let them rent them out. But yes, under D'Angelo Davis, under my administration, we were challenged for small businesses development and recognizing what most positions of Chattanooga innovators can do. I mean, they lead the way, and we need to give them the opportunity to do that by investing in them more, especially minority and Black-owned business. I mean, women-owned businesses. So I'm sorry.
Thanks. Okay, so we're going to move on to some questions about public safety. Chattanooga saw a sharp increase in gun violence in 2020. How, as mayor, would you work to lower violent crime rates in the city?
Yes, we will reform the requirements, examine every step of the system, from what we choose to criminalize to how we enforce and prosecute, engage with community, and as well as accuse the accuser. Under my administration, our plan is for the city of Chattanooga Police, make the new investments. I mean, start it over. Show the support we need for the officers as well, because officers' lives do matter as well as citizens. So my plan is stop them from getting militarized weapons, because for the community, when they see officers with militarized weapons, they don't have a good how can I say it? When they see officers with militarized weapons, they don't have a good mindset of what officers are coming for. If they coming for us or they coming for to do something to us. So we need more community, unite being the for Chattanooga, be taking to invest, stay in the art of law enforcement training programs at every level, in issues like use force, de-escalation, community policing, and problem solving to incarcerate, the incarceration, crisis and intervention, and officers of safety and wellness.
Thank you. Activists spent this summer protesting police brutality across the country, as well as here in Chattanooga, and demanding either defunding or divesting from police departments. Would you consider defunding or divesting from the Chattanooga Police Department or any other reforms? And if so, what other reforms would you consider for law enforcement?
Yes, the law enforcement, defunding them. Yes, I do see us defunding law enforcement, because a lot of their funding goes to, like I said, militarized weapons and things that they really doesn't need. But we do need the police officers, because they do keep Chattanooga very safe. But I will start by reimagining how we talk and deliberate about our policies and safety. For example, public safety should mean providing every opportunity for our kids to get a good education and safety in school, and feel safety in their neighborhoods and streets. So yes, I do support defunding the police and putting money to low-income communities, as well as small minority businesses. Yes, I do.
Some activists and some candidates have called for the removal of some current high-ranking officers with the Chattanooga Police Department, including Chief David Roddy. What, if any, changes at the police department leadership on the leadership level, would you implement if you are elected mayor?
Chief David Roddy has done a lot to Chattanooga, and I thank him for his services. But under my administration, we will have the first ever Black African American woman to lead the PAC. The city government has already taken the needed action to ban the box for the city of Chattanooga employees. So now none of the applicants can I lost my train of thought. Now the applicants can I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Can have their qualification before asking about the crimes or their record. So what that means is, before the police really get involved and they come on scene, we want them to be able to see what's going on before you automatically take into action. You might not have to really use necessary force all the time to really de-escalate the situation.
Thank you for that answer. Many have questioned the conduct of activists, citing some incidents of vandalism, disruption to businesses, and some confrontations with police. Others, meanwhile, have criticized law enforcement for restricting access to public areas, for surveilling activists on private property, and for the nature of some arrests. If similar protests or unrest happened during your term as mayor, how would you weigh restrictions on citizen activists and a police presence, and what would you have done differently?
City activists, they're speaking their voices. I mean, they're trying to be heard from the torment that's been going on for so long. So I do approve of the protesters. I mean, we need them, but we don't need the violence. We don't need the crime that comes with protesting. Not from the protesters, but from the officers, because we saw not too long ago how officers from the protests in Washington, D.C., how they didn't use the same force that they use for Black Lives Matter. So it's a different standard there. So we need to allocate how we look at that, and we need to focus on how we can bring the officers together with the community, and the community as well as get them more aware, acquainted with the officers that's in their community, and as well as let them feel more safer when the police officers arrive through their community, and feel free to tell them what's going on in the community. Don't be scared to talk to officers because we need them.
Thank you so much for that answer. Moving on to a couple of other topics. Do you intend to receive a COVID-19 vaccine, or have you received one? I'm assuming you haven't, because I don't think your age category has come up, and I know you're not a first responder. But would you, when it's available to you, would you accept one?
Most definitely, most definitely. When it's available for me, I will be taking it. I think it's very important for everyone to take it and to keep everyone safe, not only for yourself, but for others around you, family members and friends as well. So yes, I will be taking it.
Do you believe transparency is important in the mayor's office? And if so, how will you ensure that that continues through your term? And also related to that, will you grant interviews with reporters and answer their questions on a regular basis?
Yes, I think transparency is very important for the mayor's office. And as you can tell, I will make sure the transparency and diversity will always continue if I'm elected mayor in my office. And for the next question, yes, I will make sure that I'm always available for reporters to ask questions, always give them my best answer to them. And if I can give them my best answer, I will make sure that they will always receive the most truthful and best answer from my best and suitable colleagues. Yes.
So how do you see the relationship between the mayor and the council? What should that look like? And if you're elected mayor, how would you cultivate relationships with council members?
The relationship with council members and mayors should be, I think they should be very together. I mean, they have to make policies and plans for the people. So they have to always, if they might not agree the same, but it's always the people over policy. I mean, you should always party over policy. You should always want to do what's right. So I think it's very important to have a great relationship with the city council members, as well as get them to the table and let them have a voice as well, and listen, take all the input you can, and make sure you're always available to understand where they're coming from as well, and make sure that they're always, that you never, the mayor never has the ability to not take into heed of what they're saying. You must always listen to your partners. You must always listen to your colleagues. So I think we're going to be business partners, and we're also going to be sure to have a tight relationship as friends.
Thank you. Now, one last question. Would you support public money for a new Chattanooga Lookouts Stadium if that request is made?
Yes, if that request is made, I would. I mean, we need lookouts. Since I was growing up, as you can tell, I'm 35. I love the ballpark. I love to go and watch the lookouts. So yes, I will be investing money if asked.
Okay. Well,